Welcome to another episode of Elite Girl Talk inspired by psychology for women who enjoy thoughtful conversations. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the psychology of detachment, what causes obsession and attachment, and how to actually rewire your brain to detach while building genuine connections. All right, let's get into it. So, first of all, the definition of detachment, according to Oxford Languages, is the state of being objective or aloof. For many women, it can be a struggle to actually be objective and detached from an outcome in your life because of the heavy emotional weight that can come from being disappointed when something doesn't work out the way that you want it to. This can also come from attaching self worth and value to outcomes and events, even though these outcomes are typically out of your control. However, like the definition that I just went over, it is actually possible to develop a detached outlook to the things that we become attached to the most. Those can be relationships, job opportunities, money, business ideas, people's opinions of you, and more. Most women think that detachment happens through discipline and willpower, constantly telling yourself affirmations and forcing yourself out of your phone or not to check your email or text messages or social media and things like that. But in reality, the core of attachment is the assumption that the external person, event, or thing benefits you. This is why most women struggle with detaching because your brain bonds to what it thinks it is benefiting from. This is rooted in evolutionary psychology, where humans adapted to create emotional bonds that were essential for survival. This is why your brain can sometimes feel these intense emotions of abandonment, stress, and despair after losing something that you were attached to because your brain is wired to associate that person, thing, or event with survival. In order to develop a healthy level of detachment, it's not about ignoring the importance of healthy connections with other humans, the necessity for a job, and the desire for certain things to turn out a certain way, but it's the goal to stop giving so much power to external events and people where your self worth, confidence, and happiness is at the mercy of things that you cannot control. ACT, the acceptance and commitment therapy, is a mindfulness based therapy that encourages the acceptance of difficult thoughts and feelings instead of fighting them, while also staying aligned to healthy behaviors and your core values. So, for example, during a breakup, it's not about ignoring negative feelings that come up like sadness, disappointment, or anger. You're not a robot. You're a human being. You're a woman with a range of emotions and expectations. However, just because you might feel a certain way about a breakup doesn't mean you're going to throw away your core values and what you need from a relationship and partnership. It's about recognizing that someone might not be right for you and aligning with that truth while simultaneously allowing yourself to feel the emotions that come from letting someone go. When you try too hard to ignore, suppress, or push away negative feelings or thoughts, this is not detachment. This is just another way of allowing external people and events to control you. What you're telling yourself is that the emotions and thoughts are so overwhelming and mean more than your sense of self and core values that you'd rather pretend that they aren't even there. In the long run, you don't develop healthy coping mechanisms or patterns to help you process emotions and might end up subconsciously making decisions anyway that are out of alignment and focused on short term gratification rather than confronting uncomfortable feelings in the moment. Acceptance and commitment therapy separates emotion, identity, and action so that they aren't fused together. It's about acting with the intention of doing what is in your best interest and what's aligned with your core values and not what your emotions are driving you to do. And it's not about completely ignoring emotions as well. Your emotions are a compass, but they're not the driver. You are. This allows you to build tolerance for discomfort instead of eliminating discomfort because that's not really possible. When you consistently practice this type of thinking, acting not at the mercy of your emotions, but in collaboration with them, A few things happen in the brain to build lasting emotional regulation. The amygdala activation decreases, which is like your brain's alarm system to look for danger. This is hyperactive in people who have hyper attachment to things. The prefrontal cortex engagement increases, and this is your decision making part of the brain. So instead of just being overwhelmed by emotion, you can actually take a step back, center yourself, and make informed decisions. Your brain goes from survival mode to controlled and thoughtful. The attachment theory is another psychological concept that explains attachment and how hyper attachment tendencies can develop. The attachment theory was developed by psychoanalyst John Bowlby, and it describes how infants need to form a close relationship with at least one primary caregiver to ensure healthy survival and develop healthy social and emotional functioning. The attachment theory begins at infancy, however, if not addressed, can cause relational problems later in life. This is why anxiously attached people, people who fear abandonment and losing their loved ones due to not having a stable caregiver in childhood, struggle with detaching from outcomes and relationships and can hyperfixate on someone, especially if this person left them or broke up with them, because this recreates the experience that they went through as a child. A lot of people with anxious attachment seek to understand why someone left and what it means about their worth, rather than objectively accepting that people's behaviors and actions are a reflection of who they are, not the other way around. On the flip side, avoidant attachment can form in a similar manner if a caregiver or both were absent or abandoned them, or from overstimulation or inconsistent attunement. A lot of people focus on anxious attachment as the primary style that builds obsession and overattachment, but avoidant attachment seeks the same goal as someone who is anxiously attached and therefore is technically not detached 100%, at least not in the sense that we are discussing in this episode. Both anxious and avoidant attached people still want close relationships and secure love, though both have different ways of achieving these goals or approaching these goals. Anxiously attached people try to close the gap in relationships. Avoidant people try to create space, both still with the goal of wanting to remain safe and not get hurt. However, when you are truly detached, you are not afraid of close relationships. You are not afraid of taking emotional risk, and you are not overly attached to the outcome where your self worth and identity is tied to someone choosing to be with you or not. A detached mindset is one that is secure with either outcome because you know deep down that what is meant to be, and you do not need to fix, mold, or manipulate situations or people. You are centered in yourself, what you have to offer, and confident in asking for your needs. A detached mindset has healthy beliefs around relationships that allow you to desire love and connection while simultaneously being able to confront uncomfortable emotions and thoughts. Developing healthy detachment is the creation of a stoic mind. Stoicism is a philosophical concept that trains your mind to separate things that are in your control, which are your actions, choices, and self conduct, and things that are out of your control, which are outcomes, timing, and other people's behavior. It's not about being apathetic, it's about setting emotional boundaries. Your self worth and survival is not rooted in being chosen or being fixated on one outcome. It is decided by you and reaffirmed through making healthy, aligned emotional decisions for yourself. Stoicism allows you to reduce emotional reactions by removing the belief that you need to control reality to feel safe. Safety is created internally, validation is created internally, being chosen happens internally. When you can surrender control and detach from fixed outcomes, that is when you become more powerful. That is when you can confidently allow yourself to have desires of love, connection, opportunities, and material items, or whatever it is that you desire, without your desires defining who you are and your self-worth. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure to leave a comment on what your favorite concept was. And also, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, make sure to leave a 5-star review if you are loving the podcast. If you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe so that you never miss a video. All right, until next time, bye.